Good afternoon and welcome to WSABE 2014, WSABE webinar series presented by Champion Legal. Joining me today for our topic in Excellence in Business Ethics is Eric Tjoeng from CFO On Call and Geoff Roberson, Managing Director of Champion Legal. Welcome Eric, welcome Geoff.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Now ethics is a big topic, particularly for the two of you as you're both professionals, lawyer and accountant. Could you tell us a little bit about your business and what draws you to us today on this topic?
Champion Legal is a well-established paramount legal practice, as I think many know, and a high standard of ethics is absolutely critical in the legal world. We are a privileged profession in the sense that a lot of the information that we're given by clients is privileged and cannot be disclosed to courts or elsewhere. It's absolutely imperative in that sense that the client confidentiality is highly respected. We also are the recipients of clients' money from time to time, trust money. So again, it's a question of trust. There has to be a very high standard maintained so that the reputation of the profession is at the level expected by most people in the community. I think that's at a client level, and then of course I think most legal practices, like any other business, put in place their own statement of values. I mean, we hear a lot about mission statements and other things, but at the end of the day, in the legal profession, it's imperative that the business itself be run in a highly ethical way, and that means having staff that fully understand the expectations on a profession, and of course that, it goes without saying, it's a matter of being absolutely honest in dealings with staff and clients at every level, and that in a practical sense does mean dealing with people openly and honestly and really not being duplicitous or dishonest. You've just got to be absolutely upfront and frank. So we have in place our core values, for example, that talk about integrity, excellence, those core values of our business, but really are applicable across the board.
Fantastic. And Eric, a little bit about your business.
Yes, CAD Partnership On Call. We are a group of business advisors and financial controllers. We operate throughout Australia and New Zealand. I guess we work with our client in 4 key areas as a trusted advisor, talking about profit improvement, cash flow improvement, of course, business growth and exit. I guess just like in the legal profession, as a trusted advisor, it is very critical that you have a good business ethic. I mean, you know, most probably besides the business owners, we would know the most in terms of the detailed financial information of the business and the business strategy and the action plan to be better than other businesses. So I guess besides confidentiality, you know, to be honest and have integrity is very important. And I guess the other thing that is very important is to avoid any conflict of interest. You know, in any form, you know, we cannot basically advise competing businesses through the same partner, for example. Nor that if the business we are advising actually competing against ourselves in, you know, one form or another, once again, it's not very ethical to do that. I think, Michelle, interestingly in our profession, you know, being, I guess, working with various professional bodies, Chamber of Commerce and various government bodies, people like us most probably got no place to hide. So if we do something wrong, you know, I think most probably that will be the end of our business. This is how critical it is, as Geoff has mentioned, to have a good, you know, ethical standard. Not only to have one, to make sure we communicate that to our team, our partners and staff, and make sure that, of course, you know, we follow it through. Otherwise, you know, policy procedure is only as good as if you follow it through. Yeah, so that's quite critical.
Fantastic. So if you're just tuning in at the moment, we'll just go a quick review of our key dates for our WSABE entries, and then we'll get into the crux of the issue, the Excellence in Business Ethics questions from the WSABE entry for today. So entries are closing very soon, June 26th. We might have some news on that, but don't lag behind. Get your entries in by June 26th and make sure that you have your Gala Awards night locked in your diary for August 22nd, shaping up to be a great evening. So excellence in business, straight into the topic. Explain how your business demonstrates excellence in business ethics. So you mentioned a few things in your introductory about avoiding conflict of interest and competition. How would you advise a small business or a medium business entering the awards to demonstrate excellence in business ethics?
I suppose if you have, like most businesses should have, a business plan, they should have a strategy, of course, and I think I'd be looking at how a number of issues around your staff, how you train your staff, what your expectations are of your staff. It really starts at that level. If you were to demonstrate that you're running a very ethical business, what do you do for your staff? What training and what are your expectations? Now, you know, there's obviously examples of businesses that really impose the wrong type of expectations on staff. And that can be done a number of ways, by setting standards or setting things to be achieved that are just not achievable. Making staff really bend the rules to achieve outcomes. Those are the sorts of things I think a business owner or someone running a business needs to be fair and reasonable in their KPIs, whatever you want to call them. So I think that would be my starting point. Look at how the fundamentals in running the business, and I think also you can often look at the business's presentation to the public. What does the web page? What sort of message does it send? What is the public front, or the public face of the business? Is there anything there that really screams out that maybe this isn't as honest or ethical business as it should be? I guess most people are careful about that, but still we do see, and Eric mentioned about conflict of interest. I do think there's a significant problem in our business community with conflicts, and I do think a lot of businesses aren't totally straightforward and honest in their advising their clients that they are in fact a representative of say a major bank, and we're seeing that in a number of industries where major banks or major insurers are in fact the owners of say a financial planning business, for example. I think those sorts of ethical issues are a problem, and I'd be looking very carefully at the conflicts. Well, what are who are the owners? Who really? What does the business stand for?
Fantastic. So transparency right from the beginning in your business plan and strategy, being fair and reasonable with your expectations of staff, and then sharing that with the world, really, I think. Wouldn't you agree, Eric?
Yes, certainly that's the case. You know, I guess most probably one of the most pragmatic way for businesses to have a look at this is, first and foremost, I think they really need to understand the ethical standard they need to have. For example, if you have professional bodies, I'm pretty sure your professional bodies will have some ethical standard that you've got to adhere to. You know, whether you are a lawyer, accountant, or engineer, for example. Now, once again, if you are in trades, once again, you do have your industry bodies that set out certain guidelines that you're supposed to follow. So first, once you understand that, I think, you know, to make it work, you really need to reflect that in your business culture. Now, what sort of culture do you need to have to make sure that, you know, you can achieve that ethical standard you have in mind that you have to adhere to one way or another? And of course, induction is critical. When you have people starting as a new employee, you got to do a proper induction so they understand the ethical standard and the behavior you expect of them. And I guess policy and procedure. That is certainly the way to manage it, to make sure that they follow, your expected business ethics. And lastly, you need to have some checks and balances. We are talking about certain checklists. So, if there are certain things critical, you must do it to adhere to your ethical standards, right? There's a checklist to say, have you done that, have you done that, have you done that, or make sure you avoid this, etc. I think that would be most probably, some of the practical way to implement that in your business, and at the same time you can, monitor it and implement it successfully.
Fantastic advice. I think all of those topics are a great springboard for people to start looking at their entry in this area. Because one thing that a lot of our listeners might not be thinking of is using the core of their business. They might have already done an entry for excellence in marketing, for example, and then using the essence of that to create a second entry, perhaps, for business ethics. Going back to the beginning, looking at their processes and procedures and how they might be able to answer this question to better their chances of becoming a finalist in 2014 WSABE. Very exciting. And very important topic about the professional bodies as well. I met with somebody today in business in the fashion industry who advised me that they were looking to them for advice and they didn't have policies and procedures in place, and she's questioning whether or not she should continue to be with the body. So I guess putting pressure back up the line, isn't it? It's a good idea.
Absolutely.
Okay, how do ethical practices contribute to your business success? So great to be able to demonstrate how you've done it, but also then how does it make your business more successful to focus on these areas, Geoff?
Again, training of staff so that they, and from the beginning, as Eric mentioned, the induction process is very important. I think staff, people working in a business need to clearly understand the ethos of the practice or the business, and what the industry standards are, what the expectations are. And if you've got your staff and everyone working together and understanding their obligations, and then, of course, the public or the clients or the customers that you're dealing with, they are unlikely. I mean, you will come under in any sort of business. You can come under pressure to do things that are perhaps not quite ethical. And I think if you start down that track of bending the rules, it's going to end up in disaster. And that's particularly so in any professional enterprise. But it applies, I think, right across the board in any business. The word soon gets around that someone cannot be trusted. And I think in any business, be it a retail business on Main Street, dealing with customers, what builds the business is not just the quality of your merchandise, but also the attitude of your staff, and of course your attitude as an owner. If, for example, there's an issue, a complaint, if you deal with that properly and ethically, it will enhance your reputation. If you turn on someone and abuse them and throw them out of your shop, you can bet with social media these days that it'll soon be all over the place. And that's something to be very careful of, is what can happen very quickly through the use of social media. So your enemies or your competition may use it anyway, but you've got to make sure that you can be ready to defend yourself by demonstrating I run, or this business is run very correctly, very properly. We have very well-trained staff. We have constant training. We have refresher courses. We adhere to industry standards and, in fact, exceed industry standards. And we constantly monitor our customers, and we're meeting our customers and exceeding our customers' expectations. And if there's any complaints or any issues at all, we really do listen very carefully, and we don't muck around. We value all of our customers, and we rely, like most businesses, on repeat business. You're not going to get repeat business if you have poor business practices, which equates to poor ethics.
Yeah, good point, Geoff. I agree with that. I guess, just to go back to what I said earlier, talking about practices, simply culture, induction, policy, procedure, checklist. However, the easy way to measure that is the way your profile in the community, and also how long have you been around, how successful are you growing your business. We started in 1991. We still have our first client until now. And we started with virtually one partner to around 60 partners now in Australia and New Zealand. Business like us, unless you have a very good ethical standard, business owners, they are pretty smart. A lot of them been there, done that, got a lot of experience. Unless they trust you that you are very ethical, basically you will not last. Not only will not last, most probably you'll disappear. Okay. So I think there's quite, self-evidence, if I say, whether you have a good ethical standard or not. Nowadays, you cannot basically try to, maybe, say otherwise to, your customer, etc., especially just that social media is very powerful. You did one wrong thing. Of course, we are human. Sometimes we make mistakes. As long as you acknowledge it and then rectify it, that is the main thing. We are not God. Anything can happen, but just need to identify, recognize it, rectify it, make sure it doesn't happen again. Then I guess thing is fine.
Yep. Yeah. Fantastic. The detail, measurable evidence of how you contribute to your local community. So I know that you've both got a lot of experience. Both, Eric's currently on the Parramatta Chamber Board of Commerce, and Geoff is a past president. So you've both contributed a great deal to your community. And how has that helped define you as a successful and ethical business?
Well, I think we all live in our communities, and successful communities really are brought about by people contributing. It can be through your local school. Your kids are at school, you get involved with the school, you get involved with the parents and citizens, or the tuck shop roster, or whatever it is. You involved in training with your children at sport. But then through to the business world, if you're not in that sort of family environment yet, the business community really does work very effectively when people network. You get very valuable feedback from other business people. So organisations like the Chamber of Commerce and other network organisations play a significant role. A lot of people just turn up and attend the functions, but really those organisations only exist because of a lot of volunteer labour. So they're important that you, if you can, put the time in, make it available. A lot of people say, oh, I'm too busy running my business. Well, we're all busy running our businesses, but frankly, you've got to recognise a lot of organisations can only exist through volunteer time. And you look back through organisations, the community organisations like Rotary and Apex and Lions, they have a magnificent history of community involvement, helping a lot of people that are disadvantaged. They raise a lot of money for a lot of very worthwhile organisations, and I guess what you get out of being involved in those activities is a sense that you are acting honourably, you are acting nobly, you are trying to be a good citizen. You're not just coming in and taking out. We all seek to make a reasonable living, but at the end of the day, a successful society works with a whole range of things, and certainly having involvement in organisations like those I've mentioned. You've got the Salvation Army as well, and you've got the hospitals, the children's hospitals. You've got a lot people with disabled family, they need a lot of help, and frankly they get fantastic help at a very high level. A lot of very high-level business people do contribute their expertise. It's not a matter of standing on a street corner and perhaps collecting funds. It's also, if you've got expertise at a governance level, at a management level, that's the sort of thing you can, just your own quiet way, you get involved. You might have to put in a bit of your own time after hours, but if people don't do that, if we all just turned up and did our job every day and said that was enough, then really our very successful society that we have here in Australia would unravel. So I think, look around you, what are you interested in? What is your family interested in? Get involved. That then reflects back into your business because, frankly, you're also out there mixing. People see you. And they're more likely to say, Eric's a good fellow. Why shouldn't I consult with him? I know him. I know he's a good man. And frankly, that's how I think our business world works. You become known. You won't be known if you sit back in your office or in your shop and do nothing. Spend a lot of money on advertising, but it's not going to necessarily guarantee the success of your business. I think people judge you by other things. So I think being involved in your broader community is critical.
Yeah, Geoff, I think that is a good point. A lot of us are fully aware of your contribution, with the education institution, Chamber of Commerce, and various institutions. I think that's great. The way I see it is, the person like you will not be invited to fulfill this role unless you are quite ethical. I mean, for us, it's not a matter of our knowledge or our experience. It's a matter of how do we use our knowledge and our experience to be involved, such as Chamber of Commerce, could be an ethical community, ethnic community, etc., education institution. I think most probably what brought to my mind immediately, like conflict of interest, that is certainly a must. If you don't handle that, it's full of minefield in there. Some people joining certain organizations, basically they just want, that to do it for their own benefits. People soon understand that eventually either they kick you out or they will not invite you any other organization. Most of us getting involved is through invitation, not that we are desperately knock on the door, right? And the other thing is obviously honesty and integrity. Don't forget, we are dealing with, community and education bodies and charitable organization, non-profit organization. Their value system, in terms of honesty, integrity, and make sure there is no conflict of interest is utmost important. So I think to be a very good board member and to measure, how successful are you contributing to different organizations is the fact that you have been invited to join this organization in various capacity. I think once again, Geoff is really, I admire, what you have been involved, in terms of, the way you manage in your busy life contribute to the community. I think it's a credit to yourself, obviously, to your company. That's an evidence, self-evidence of, how your ethical standing is actually being recognized and been put into use to contribute to this various organizations. I think that most hopefully, self-evident, I would say.
Fantastic. So in this busy world, we're all busy, but it's really important then to give and take, not just about our own self-interest, but how we can use our own expertise to give back to our community and be involved. And perhaps, as you say, Eric, we might even be invited then for opportunities that we may not have been alerted to if we had not have given so much. Mm-hmm. So fantastic. So this is the last question for this area. Describe how your business interacts with your employees to promote excellence in business ethics with your suppliers and customers. Something we haven't touched on is suppliers so far. We've talked a little bit about employees, but I know that with our organisation, Geoff, we've got a quality assurance program and that we review all suppliers prior to taking them on as a supplier. Would you like to talk a little bit more about dealing with our,
Yes, I guess firstly with employees, as you mentioned, we have a quality program, but as I mentioned earlier, I think we induct people thoroughly when they join us. We make sure they understand what the business stands for, what our expectations are in relation to their dealings with fellow employees, and importantly with our clients and with anyone else that in effect touches the business. I think again it starts with yourself and your staff and your training and how that all then flows through into your dealings with customers or clients, in this case, of our practice and our suppliers. I think also, again, as I mentioned at the outset, it's a matter of being upfront and honest. I think we've seen in following the global financial crisis, a lot of business have struggles financially, and it's best to work with people, make sure that people understand that we all have challenges in our businesses, and rather than make sure you don't lie to people, make sure you don't mislead people. I think you're better off being absolutely straightforward. And sometimes when you are, as I see it, straightforward, you'll have offers of help rather than maybe something quite harmful to your business. So I think it really again starts with your employees, how you treat your employees, how you train your employees, and all of that. Then if you get that right, it flows through to your suppliers and to your clients or customers.
All right. I think Geoff, you have touched upon a lot with employees. Most probably, I want to explore a bit further into among suppliers. The way we see it, very important when you choose a supplier, make sure that they have similar culture with you and they have similar ethical standards. For example, if confidentiality is very important, and if you want to get somebody to help a business owner and the organization somehow doesn't respect confidentiality, then you will not have back-to-back guarantee or result. I guess, one of the things that we always say when we meet new people who want to deal with us, we say, look, we are happy to deal with you and helping our clients accordingly once we understand about you a bit more. When we say understand is, where do they stand in terms of the ethical standard, their culture, their policy and procedure? Do they actually match with what we need to do and our client expectation? If they don't, seriously, price doesn't really matter that much. Okay, of course, nice price is always appreciated, but if they are cheap and nasty, once again, it will be totally disastrous to have a supplier like that. If you focus on customer service and your supplier don't, because they said, well, we only sell it to you 1 cent, what do you expect? That would be a major issue. So actually, that is a good question. I think that, we see a lot of businesses actually tend to most probably either neglect that or because they're so busy, don't think about it, and they get themselves burnt. Not because of their incompetence, because of their aligned partners or suppliers not doing the right thing. So that is actually quite an interesting question that business owners should ponder.
Fantastic. What a great topic today. We've just touched on a bit of an overview for the listeners, whether you're listening for the 2014 year or perhaps getting some inspiration for 2015. It's been a big topic today. Thinking about ethics, starting at the top of your business with your strategy, your business plan, moving through the induction of your staff, the trainings, the expectations. Are you being fair and reasonable with your people? Involvement in your community, it's always good to give and take. And suppliers, who is in your circle of supply? Who do you align yourself with? Are they treating their staff and clients with respect? And are they accountable to you in your business dealings? Anything else you'd like to add for this topic, gentlemen? What a good wrap-up?
I think it's an excellent wrap-up. I think what was going through my mind there about dealing with suppliers, I think apart from the quality of suppliers, what's happening in today's world too is a lot of thought being given to major things are impacting on society, and things like climate change, for example. I mean, we look here closely at the use of our power, for example, and I think again a healthy community addresses a range, and we've seen that come into the business world with paperless, so-called paperless society. And but I think every small business can make a contribution by looking at how they run their business and make sure there isn't unnecessary waste and things that can aggravate customers too. You've got to be careful. You've got to remember you've got a lot of different sort of people coming through your business, and I think it's not a bad idea to keep an eye on what's happening out there in the broader community, broader world, and perhaps give some thought to adopting a cause and following it closely. I think there's a lot of very good issues that we can all address in our own small way.
Fantastic.
I think, Michelle, most probably in summary, I would like to say that, you're only as good as your weakest link. So when you are thinking about ethics, you've got to be thinking about all the stakeholders, and it's very useful to think about your entire supply chain, right? And as I said, you're only as good as your weakest link. If one of them basically doesn't do the right thing, it will actually reflect on you, right, as part of the supply chains. So this topic, yes, most probably some businesses haven't thought about it, but I'm pretty sure, they will be aware and they must say, aha, that's right. That's why we had this problem. There was, something gone wrong with some other people, but we didn't actually, I guess, put in the time to make sure, we deal with the right people to service our client, for example, or we don't have the right stakeholders got similar ethical standards. That's why we have problems. We never see eye to eye because, we want to do the right thing the right way. They might say we want to do the right thing any way we want. So this might be quite interesting. Yeah.
Great summary, gentlemen. So remember, listeners, it all starts with you. And don't forget, benefits of entering. I think lots of inspiration today. So we'd love to see what you come up with for excellence in business ethics, and make sure that you can tell the world all the great things that you're doing in your business, starting with how you work and operate. So fantastic. So entries are due in, don't forget, and I think our last session will be next week because entries are closing. We're looking to do a wrap-up with some of the key sponsors from WSABE and the organisers, so we look forward to you tuning in next week. Until then, though, you can join us on the WSABE Support Forum with any last-minute questions as you cram to get your entries in by the end of the month. Thank you for listening, and we'll look forward to seeing you at the award ceremony on August 22nd.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.